Workshop Wednesday. On today's menu are 3 woods for Stu Cartwright, who had a full bag fit with Mark Woodward last week. Following his fit with Mark, he realised that after the fit he hated every club in the bag, and he was desperate, or rather not so keen, to go away with his current clubs, knowing how they're set up and how they're performing. So we've managed to find some stock in-house and get his clubs ready for his departure to Dominican Republic. On Saturday he's hosting 9 or 10 golfers, so hopefully this will give him a bit more enjoyment on the course. Right, so if you tuned into his full bag fits, the outcome of the fit was actually an entirely new bag, a Titleist TSR3 11 degree. Now you might think, good golfer, why does he need 11 degree? Well, 11 degrees, well, Mark demonstrated that loft can actually be a good thing, so don't be afraid of loft if you're fitted into a higher loft driver. So the TSR2 11 degrees, fitted with a Mitsubishi Diamana TB70X, 45 inches, swing weight D5. Again, Stu responded much better to a heavier swing weight and heavier dead weight as well. The 3 wood we'll be building today is, actually it's not a 3 wood, it's a 5 wood, because he was getting such a strong flight with the 3 wood, we needed to loft up a little bit to soften the flight, because we tested with the 3 wood and it was going potentially 260, 270 total distance. So it's a 5 wood we're building, 18 degrees, with a Fujikura Motore X F18X, built to 42.5 inches, swing weight D4. So again, at that length, a reasonably heavy swing weight. The last club we're going to build today is his hybrid. Titleist haven't updated the hybrids yet. Potentially they'll do it early next year if the trend follows. So it's a TSI2, 21 degrees, built to 39.75 and D3. I've forgotten to set my laptop up, so what I'm going to do is on our other screen just quickly log into YouTube. Actually, Nunu, you're on drums. If you see any questions come through, just let me know. Without further ado, let me crack on. So here we go. Mitsubishi Diamana TB70X. Now I can't imagine this is going to need too much tipping. The required frequency was 6.9. I'm guessing at that length and that swing weight, a straight installation is going to be very, very close to 6.9. So no tipping at 45.25 inches, because it's always better to go longer rather than cut too short and realise that you're not going to hit the target swing weight. So hosel setting A1, which is standard loft and standard lie. You can see there, I've just pre-done all the sleeve settings. Quite a lot of paint on these Diamanas, so the chances are, actually in this case, it's a really quite a good fit to assemble to test frequency. So moving over to our cutting bench. Goggles on. I'm going to mark at 45 inches just to test frequency. 100 psi grip off. You pay for the noise it makes. Okay, bit of shaft instability there. So we're getting there with me, folks. The first reading I got was 6.8. Okay. Okay, that is slightly under pressure, which is giving a slightly softer reading than we would normally have. Just move the frequency meter further to the end. Okay. Right, 271 was an approximate average. So I've got a frequency chart here that converts length and CPM into a calculated frequency. So 271 at 45 inches is, oh, hang on a sec. No, that is a little bit stronger. Just double check that. Say again? Good job, I've got my colleague on hand. I've marked it to 46 and not 42. Sorry, 46 and not 45, but it's a 3-inch clamp, so we mark at 42 instead of 45. Now that is going to... That's better. Okay. Okay, 6.6, we need 6.9. I know that that's quite a heavy swing weight. In this instance, I'm going to tip this shaft 1/2 inch, which will increase frequency by around about 3 or 4 CPM. Again, frequency is the fine tune of the shaft. I don't want to change the overall profile, but what I do want to do is just slightly stiffen that tip up to hit a target frequency of as close to 6.9 as possible at 45 inches and D5. So 1/2 inch tipping. Diminish the tip as well. Again, I'm not taking any graphite off, I'm just taking the paint off. You can see that I haven't taken all the paint off there, so I'm going to do the last bit with a blade. So, using the blade at a perpendicularly to the shaft. This way you make sure that you don't damage the paint further up the shaft, and only expose the graphite for optimal adhesion. Okay, I can now cut the driver to 45¼ inches. Again, we need 45, but I want to check it first. Before I select the grip, I did pre-weigh these grips. This is the grip I'm going to designate to the driver, 45.2 grams. This one for the hybrid fairway, 44.5 grams. And for the hybrid, 45.5 grams. Again, there is a discrepancy in grip weight. It always pays, if you can, to assign a grip to a club, because if I measured with a grip and then I used a grip when it came to gripping that was 2 grams lighter, it's going to throw swing weight out by about 3 of a point. So this is my driver grip. D4.5. Stu needs 2 layers of tape. I'm over length at the moment. I know I can add a little bit of weight, so I know I'm within the limits of being able to add a little tip weight and hit target swing weight. If that was too low, I'd then be starting to speak to the fitter, speak to Mark to say, look, can we go to 45¼ inches? Alternatively, we do have access to the heavier weight ports on these heads, but they do jump up in quite large increments. So I can do a fine adjustment of the head using a tip weight, but obviously doesn't warrant anything other than that, or certainly not hot melt. So cut to 45 inches. Re-swing weight, it's probably going to be down to about D2.5, D3, okay, D3.3, that's fine, okay. You can come in, but you've got to tell a joke, Stu. Hang on, let me, Stu chomping at the bit to get in, he's waiting to see these clubs being built. Okay, so we're at D3.5. Or D3.3, target swing weight is D5. I can use a little tip weight to increase swing weights to D5 because the 2 layers of tape will negate the adhesive and the assembly. Okay.
How's it going?
It's going all right, not too bad. I just need to slightly leave a little bit more room for this tip weight. Okay. So with the full tip weight, D6.4, it's D6.5, I need to take about, let's get ½ inch off that. D5.5, getting there, a little bit more. Probably take an extra ½ inch off. And we're at D5. Just to show you guys, if I took the hybrid grip and replaced it, oh, that's got well, isn't it? That's D5. Okay, D5.2, D5.1. Look, it's small margins, but every little helps. Okay, that shaft is now ready for puring. Get the tip weight out. Set it aside. Moving on to the fairway wood, target frequency of, we'll refer to the notes, 6.7, I believe. Yeah, it just hasn't pulled through to the spec sheet. 6.7. Mitore X F18X. Hosel setting D1. D1 is -3/4 of a degree loft and standard lie. I'm going to go straight in with a 1-inch tip on this. Okay, that's to tighten up to frequency it. Use a bit of polybag. .42 and a half, 42 and 3/4 I'm going to cut to, but I'm going to frequency it at 42 and 3/4 less 3 to 39 and 3/4. Okay, 270. .6. I'm happy with that. We needed D6.7. There comes a point where you don't want to tip too much. You want to tip just enough to hit target frequency, but without changing the profile of the shaft too much. So next bit is to cut it to 42 and 3/4. Again, it's a 1/4 inch longer than I need, but I've got to make sure I've got sufficient swing weight. Moving over to the scale.
This is a total education, James.
It's a funny old game. Okay, so this is the first problem we've come up against. D7. So we need D4. We need to get head weight out. I can do that retrospectively with the weight in the head. Most importantly, I don't need to add any weight. So I'm going to cut this to 42 and a half. So I may have said add weight, which we're not going to need to. D5.2. This is when you'd ask the fitter, can we, instead of changing head weight, can we sacrifice a 1/4 inch playing length? So he would then maybe speak to the customer, in which case Stu, who stood behind, are you okay with going a 1/4 inch shorter? Because bearing in mind this is a 5-wood.
100%.
Okay. I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do it once it's built, because then we're going to cut to swing weight rather than length. So that is fine. That is done. And lastly, hybrids perform very, very differently in frequency compared to driver and wood shafts. They're more selected for their profile. Their EI curve is totally different to a wood shaft, so the butt frequency can't be compared. Therefore, with a hybrid, unless there's any specific recommendations on tipping, would go with standard tipping instructions. For the 21 degree, I am going to tip it 1 inch. The loft setting is C4, which is up 3/4 of a degree and 3/4 of a degree flat. So I can go ahead and take 1 inch off the tip. And I'm going to cut to 40 inches, again quarter inch longer than I actually need. Oh, so I still need the, that's all right. Swing weighting, of course, with the grip I've designated to the hybrid. D1.5, we need D3. That's why you go longer than you need, because you've got to work out if you need additional weight, which you can get by two ways: adding a lot of weight, which you don't really want to do, or you might want to play it quarter inch longer. In this case, what are we going to do? 40 inches. Grey standard, isn't it? Okay, do we have heavy ones of those?
No.
Okay, I'll go, in this case, we're going to cut to 40 inches. Or should we go tip weight? No, let's go tip weight. Get it to 39 3/4, the recommended length. We've got two types of tip weight. We've got grass tip weights. Okay, spot on. D2.5, D2.9, we need D3. I'm happy with that. So that's a 4.5 gram tip weight at the correct length. We can now move on to puring the shafts. Okay. Right. Loading the driver shaft in.
I'll continue watching upstairs, James.
Oh. Let's just put Stuart's details in. So rotate the shafter logo up. Customer name. Again, this has no bearing on the test result. This is purely for a printout. Okay, so that's not there. Let's go. Do you want a TB? Driver. Okay, so if you watched one of these videos before, the shaft will go into a load symmetry test. The shaft is being dipped under a load cell. The force is being measured in the vertical plane. That's going to be converted onto a graph of shaft with the chuck orientation versus load. And we can see here we've got 2 points at where the shaft pushes up on the load cell the most. If the shaft was perfectly round and straight, that would be a constant load and a flat line, but it's not. So we're going to try and find the point at which that shaft is completely balanced and performs neutrally. Tip mass going on, which simulates the club head. First part of the test is its logo up test to give a before and after result too. So this is the logo up test. So we may see some patterns of motion there. Starting to work across the plane. it's now going to move to a point where it feels that both those hard loading points are going to neutralize each other. And then if you go to the screen, you're going to start to see those concentric circles start to squeeze down to as flat a line as possible. A puring shaft can take anything between 1 and 3 minutes, really. So once the oscillations move to a point within a pattern of motion that's deemed pure, it'll test no further and it'll drop an ink line and mark the shaft for installation. So Nuno, if you just head back to the shaft. The shaft is now travelling back and forth far more consistently. Okay, ink line coming down to mark. Let me just make sure it's completely visible. Lovely, so the shaft is marked correctly. What you can see here is logo up on the left, the pured result on the right, which is, it's only a 10.7 degree rotation from logo up, but it has reduced the out of plane motion by nearly 80%. Moving on to the 5-wood shaft. Rotates to logo up. Motore X. Again, 8X, Titleist head, 5-wood, next. Once again, the same test. First, the load symmetry index test. Measuring the load against the load cell. Again, this one is quite a different pattern of motion, so there's one slightly harder point than another. Some people who've got a puring license call that a camel. The puring location's probably going to be somewhere, I would imagine, in this location here, closer to this hard point than this one. So yeah, I would expect it to be around about there. Attach the tip mass, rotate to logo up, and I would expect the pattern of motion to be a lot greater on this one. It's working across the plane quite a bit. And some of them you see really do go round and round in circles. Actually, Nina, if I take the camera, could you mix some adhesive up? Okay, so we're nearly there. Okay, so the summary for this shaft is, did the shaft mark correctly? Yes. Back to Back to Nunu. Yep. Perfect. Again, a very, very subtle rotation from logo up, 2.49 degrees, with an improvement in outer plane oscillations by 73.35%. Just goes to show that you've got to be so accurate with installing a shaft, logo up or logo down. A few degrees away from the optimal orientation can result in a dramatic change in shaft stability, or rather instability. And finally, moving on to the hybrid. Logo up just again. Rolling through its circumference, measuring that force in the upward plane. And once again, another pattern on the graph. Okay. Slightly different tip mass for hybrids, a bit heavier. And every time the shaft tests, it's moving the shaft a very, very minute amount to see which side of that high point on the graph it starts to improve. Once it's found the correct side, it'll just nudge the chuck orientation a little bit more until the oscillations start to get worse again. Okay, just perfect. Nearly a full flip from logo up, 179.95 degrees with an improvement of 39.47%. Okay, right, I need to move reasonably quickly because this adhesive is going to be going off soon. I'm going to mix some more as well. I probably won't get enough time to use the adhesive Nunu's mix for all three clubs. Okay, starting with the driver, a little bit of adhesive on the tip of the shaft to wet the ferrule. And we're going to drive the ferrule on just a little bit. Pop the tip weight in. Take the tip weight out. little bit of adhesive on the shaft. And that little pop you heard was just the air escaping up the shaft. Okay, it's a really good fit on that driver. I'm going to set that up at vertical, or actually just short of vertical, so it cures symmetrically. Moving on to the 5 which we didn't need. I'm not going to use that adhesive because that's already too close to going off. Wet the tip of the shaft. Ferrule, drive the ferrule on, just a very small amount of adhesive, coating the inside, the rest on the tip of the shaft, rotating the shaft as it goes in just to make sure that you've got an even coating on the inside of both parts. Alignment at 12 o'clock. Why put off? That needs realigning. Set this down. And finally, the hybrid. Okay. Just making sure that there's no adhesive on the head, the ferrule, the shaft. And set that one down. Now, that driver is, believe it or not, good to grip. Let me just double check. Give that one more minute. Just going to review what we built today. We've built Stu a TSR2 11 degrees in the A1 sleeve setting with a Mitsubishi Diamana TB70X. We've tipped a ½ inch to achieve a frequency of D6.9 at 45 inches with a target swing weight of D5. The TSR2 5 wood, 18 degrees, sleeve setting D1, which was lower loft by 3/4 of a degree, standard lie, with a Fujikura Motore X F18X. Frequency was 6.6, length 42.5, but we erred on the shorter side because of the slightly heavy head, and a target swing weight of D4. And finally, the TSI2 21 degree sleeve setting C4, which was up 3/4 of a degree and 3/4 of a degree flat, with a Fuji Ventus, obviously Velocore Ventus, 85 stiff to 49 3/4 inches and target swing weight D3. Driver is now ready to grip. The last check before I grip is a double check of what the swing weight is going to come out at. D6.3. I can double check the length. Okay, because I added the tip weight, I'm going to take the width of the tip weight off. That's coming out about 0.4 the swing weight than I would like to, so I'm going to sacrifice an eighth of an inch off the target swing weight, purely in the interest of swing weight. Okay, I'm happy with that. D5.5. Let's give that a little bit longer. 2 layers of tape. Bearing in mind that if there's any fine tune of swing weight to be done after the builds, that can always be done with weight ports. Okay, you can see quite a dramatic taper on this shaft, so I'm only going to go with 1 layer in the top hand, and I'm going to stagger some layers underneath to simulate 2 layers. When the grip goes on, I always go past the tape and bring it back to ensure a consistent grip length. Okay, it's a logoless grip, but what you can do is you can align the black notch at the top of the grip with the black notch at the bottom and ensure that the tread of the grip is at least symmetrical all the way down. Right. Okay, so we're D5.1, D5.2. I'm happy with that. Very happy. Let's make sure that grip is seated all the way down. Yeah, D5, I mean, we're bang on there. Okay, so the driver done. Fairway, just double check. Driver's come out well.
I've been watching it all while I've been having my lunch.
D5.8. Just going to refresh my memory with the length. Okay. This one's going to take a little bit longer to do because I'm going to have to search for a lighter weight port to hit that target swing weight. I don't want to take any more than a 1/4 inch off the recommended length, so it might involve a bit of rooting around in our stock cupboard for that one. Hybrid, using the hybrid grip. We're at D3.5. Let's get that gripped.
How's the build been, James?
Traumatic. It's very different. So when you're cooking with no one else in the kitchen, you just crack on.
Yeah.
But when you've got an audience,
And talking through it.
yeah, it's a different beast.
Yeah.
Knowing that anything could go wrong.
Yeah. We were just watching upstairs in the staff room as you were doing it, and we were saying that actually that probably so many people don't realise what actually goes into making a club. Swing weight right, frequency right, length right. There's probably a lot of guys and girls out there that go, do you know what? That's a bit of me, that. I really quite enjoy the thought of actually trying to construct something. Whereas probably a lot of people consider, well, we just take a shaft, whack it in your head, and cut it to length, and she's done.
Yeah, though, look, every single component of the club has a tolerance. Grip weight, shaft weight, head weight. Then you've got build spec characteristics like swing weight, grip size. They've all got to marry up. They all have to be right to hit the target swing weight in line with the fitter's recommendations. Because if you get one wrong, it could completely upset the balance of the entire club. And I have to say, the biggest thing that can ruin a club is swing weight. Hitting swing weight is far more important than a 1/4 inch of playing length. So if you were at D4.5 and you need a D3 at a recommended playing length of 43, I would always opt for going 42 3/4 because a point and a half heavy could be far more detrimental to performance than the 1/4 inch. So hopefully we are close to D3 here. Let me take. And if this is still too heavy, I'm going to take a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, we're borderline D3.3. Stu, you always said you responded to a heavier swing weight. What I know we can do is Stu will test these before he goes. If there's any issues with the way this club feels, there shouldn't be. 0.3 of a swing weight, where most manufacturers try to get to 1 point. We can take the grip off, take a 1/16 of an inch off, and that'll be back down to D3. So pretty much, Stu, there we go. There's 3 clubs. I'm going to finish this off because we don't have enough time to get this club completed within the hour. I hope to serve you well in the Dominican Republic.
I can't wait to use them. Thank you very much for your expertise.
Pleasure. Just the irons to build.
Yep.
And you're good to go. Guys, if you like this, please do subscribe. I'm going to try to do them every Wednesday. Obviously, I can't, probably won't be able to do every single Wednesday. We'll always put a pre-recorded video up. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And we explained that actually precision building is quite an in-depth process. Tell all your friends. If you're a precision golfer, great. If you're not, you should be. All right, see you next time.